Go for it.
Hi, I'm Rob Linebarger with the Spokane County GOP, and I'm here with Dr. Raul Garcia, the candidate and our endorsed candidate, both at the state level and the county level, for United States Senate. Welcome, Dr. Garcia. It's great to see you again, sir.
Thank you for
All
having
right.
me here.
And so just invited Dr. Garcia here so we can just have a chat about his campaign, about what it means to be a Garcia in America today. Along with our faith, family, and freedom theme here, that in the GOP, we're the defenders of faith, family, and freedom. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and some of the key initiatives that he wants to get done as our next U.S. senator. And without further ado, so Dr. Garcia. So our vision is the defenders of faith, family, and freedom, and to champion the causes around it. When I met your mother at the meet and greet, the first thing that came to my mind was, the Cuban immigrants. They embody what we're trying to, I guess, promote, and the life we live here about faith, family, and freedom, and that's the champions of hope. Tight knit families, and I know that the Cuban community is like that. And you can't have freedom without the rule of law, and then also the struggle for freedom. And I know that nobody knows that better than the family of Cuban immigrants. So, I was just so impressed with your mom. I just, fell in love with her at first sight, really. She's just, I could just tell she's a great soul, a great person. So tell us a little bit about the Garcia family.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to be very grateful to her for us being here. She fought for many, many years to get out of that ridiculous ideology. And it's hard to understand what we lived without being there and experiencing every little thing that we take for granted in this country. We're talking about faith, and when I was 6 years old, the police came to my house to arrest my mother for practicing religion. So in Cuba, because of the communist government, Karl Marx says in his Communist Manifesto that religion is the opium of the people.
Yes.
Right? So you're not allowed to waste your time with that.
Right.
Right? And if you're faithful, as most of Cuba was Catholic, right? And what we did was we had little altars in our own home because we couldn't go to church. So I guess my mother's was too elaborate, so they came to arrest her because she had an elaborate altar in our home and put her in jail. And it was traumatizing. It was traumatizing to see police come to my house to arrest my mom, and not really having that understanding of. I mean, it was common to me to pray in our personal altars. Now, of course, we never talked about it in school, right? We lived a double life that a lot of people, we need to explain it well to understand that we went to school and talked about how bad the imperialist Yankees were, right? I mean, we just hammered it down that America was horrible, that the imperialist Yankees were the reason why we weren't succeeding as a country. And then we came home and we all listened to the Voice of the America, which was a radio station that came through to Havana to listen to see any good news. Like, did the Yankees win today? Because that was the only team we knew, right? And that enough carried us. We have to pretend again tomorrow.
Yes.
And that is the double life that a lot of Cubans, all Cubans really live in Cuba. But what it did was it created in me a love for a country that I had never stepped foot on, right? A love for this dream that people talked about, that you could get here and with hard work and dedication, grit, you can accomplish anything. And many of us thought the same way, but we couldn't speak like that out in the open. And that is when freedom comes in, right? The way that we're speaking here and have the freedom to say anything, you weren't allowed to do that. Not only with the example of religion, but anything. When we were in fourth grade, they asked us to put our heads down and ask God for candy, and candy did not appear, obviously. So they asked us to put our heads down and ask Fidel Castro for candy. and candy appeared on every desk. And the teacher said, this is so you obviously see that the only God is your government. So make no mistake about it, that ideology's goal is you will own nothing and you will depend on the government.
Right.
And I see that here, and that's why I'm sitting here, because I will work with every ounce of me for that to never happen in this country. That American dream that people talked about, I was lucky enough to get here, to work hard, to become a physician, to become a medical leader in my profession, to get elected to national offices, to run national organizations and boards, and to even run my own business. This little farm boy from Cuba, right? But that is the American dream. And that's why we as a community, I believe that not only Cubans, but I think immigrants that come to this country come hoping to have a little piece of that. And yes, family is very important to us. And the future for our children is very important to us. Education, opportunity for the mom and pop store to have a little business, like I did. And I take that all as lived experience. I'm a big believer in lived experience. So people, a certain entity in Seattle that is very famous, asked me why would they take me over the very powerful senator that we have now. And I said, well, I guess we're wired to respect career politicians. But I don't believe that our founding fathers wanted that. They wanted a doctor and a bus driver and a carpenter and a teacher to go to Congress for a little while, bring their ideology, and move the country forward, and then go back to your profession.
Yes.
And I truly believe that, but we have been wired to respect politicians that have been there forever because they're powerful. Well, according to results, and this is where I want to bring my scientific mind into politics, according to results, do you like what's outside your door? Because that was my answer. I said, look, I'm Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I'm doing this for my family and for my neighborhood and my community. If you come out of your door and you think that crime is okay, that drugs you could live with, that your children are safe to go to a park, that you have economic growth, that the opportunities are endless for us to afford our life, then vote for Maria. But if you're like me, that I go outside my door and I don't like what I see, I don't think my children are safe, I think the crime in Washington is preposterous, the drugs are killing our communities, and I have 4 children that try to get gas every month and can't, then I'm going to change it. And I'm going to bring 26 years of service, true service in the medical profession, giving it to everybody that came in the door, no matter who you were, and changing that venue to protect a community and a state and a country that at this point I think has lost that vision for unity and the American dream that all these immigrants that came to this country say, oh my God, we came for that, right? So I'm very lucky, and to have the honor to be your next United States Senator and be able to pay back this country for everything it's done for me, there is no greater accomplishment in my life than to do that. So you bet that I'm going to go through a wall for you to represent you, because I don't feel that we're being represented right now. I was at the same city last week as our senator. No one knew that she was there. People knew that I was there, and the only difference is that she probably came to get a check, and I'm just, that's my opinion.
Right.
And I talked to the community. I went to Skagit Valley and I went to visit Janicki Industries. Oh my God, it blew my mind. The precision and the art that these people work in that industry to help our government. I mean, I came out of that industry and I was proud to be an American. I mean, the work that Janicki Industries gives Skagit Valley, all the people that are employed there, 15 years, 17 years, they love it. They love working for that that's the American dream. That's what we need in our communities. Entities that help the community, that we push forward. So, yeah, I guess that's a big answer to your to your question, that coming from Cuba. But in the big picture of things, this is where I am today, and I'm very proud to have come to this country. You know, when I was leaving at the airport, they stopped me at 11 years of age. Policemen stopped me, put me in a room, and said, "Comrade, you don't have to leave. You could let your mother go without you, and we will throw you a big communist pioneer party at the palace."
The blue neckerchiefs and the whole thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Parade.
And as they did Elian Gonzalez.
Yeah.
As they, they made him a hero in
Yes.
Cuba. And I said, no, I'm going to go with my mom.
Yeah.
And I knew inside of me that the love that I had for America, I couldn't wait to get here. Couldn't wait to get here. Never forget that day. Never. Will always cherish it. And now with an opportunity to pay back that America for everything it's done for me.
Great. Well, now the interview is going to be about 3 hours to follow up on that. So, what a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, fantastic. I mean, I fought for this country for 23 years, and that is exactly why. Right? Is the American dream, people and family like yours. It's why we do it. Those of us that serve. And kind of to your point about the founding fathers, they envisioned us like when it came time to defend the country, the citizen soldier would show up and serve. And when it came time to govern, the Congress was supposed to be of the people. They show up, they serve, they go back home. The Senate, okay, it's the House of Lords, a little longer term, kind of the same deal, right? They never envisioned that people would be there for 53, 55 years in D.C. And as a naval test pilot, I was in Patuxent River, Maryland, but I had to go up there to Crystal City to the Pentagon periodically through D.C. I couldn't wait to get out of there after one day. I don't know how people can do it, right? My gosh. But, we talked a little, you mentioned Elian Gonzalez, and you and I talked about this before we got started here. So some of the things that burn into my mind that I remember, because, one of the things I was taught, doing human factors training on what might people do that make them crash aircraft, right? Because they get distracted and task saturated, didn't get a good night's sleep, maybe a little hungover, all these things we went through, and there's hundreds of things. And one thing is I learned that the mind thinks in pictures. And when I meet somebody from Cuban descent, and particularly somebody that immigrated to the country, the first thing I think of is this, because I remember sitting in my living room glued to the TV, thinking that how did this happen in America?
Yeah.
And this was in this was in April of 2000. The saga started in 1999.
Right.
But what we have here is we have an INS agent with a loaded weapon pointed at a child.
Yep.
Being held by his uncle, if I recall, right? And I remember his aunts were in the room terrified.
Yeah. I remember the front page of the paper had that picture, and the headline was Federal Child Abuse.
Yeah.
It was Janet Reno and Bill Clinton.
Right.
And they were very insistent on getting this boy back to Cuba. And the story that a lot of people didn't hear is that his mother sacrificed, just like my mother did, to get to the United States.
She died, right?
On a raft.
Yeah.
And she died of kidney failure because she was so thirsty that she started drinking salt water.
Yeah.
And she died of kidney failure. And miraculously, because we have miracles in this world, this little boy washed off our shores, and was able to be saved. And then it was politicized, and then it was a big deal. And his father knew he was coming. He gave permission for him to come. He knew he would have a better opportunity here. But of course, when you have a totalitarian government that comes to your house and threatens you and your family, of course you're going to come out and say horrible things about America, as I did as a kid. I didn't say horrible things, but I always, said, of course, it's the United States' fault, because you are threatened that if not, you're going to go to jail. Your parents are going to go to jail. My grandfather had a tobacco plantation in Cuba and a dairy farm, and the government came in and with the same goal: you will own nothing and you will depend on us. So they took away that farm. My mother would not sign to be a member of the Communist Party. They took her license away to teach. And that is what a totalitarian government does, and that's what they did here. They forced this father to come to the United States and say horrible things about America, and he needed his son back, and so on and so forth. And when Elian went back to Cuba, they made him a hero, right?
Yeah.
Because
I remember the parade.
Yeah.
All the kids dressed up in the, I don't know if they're the Young Pioneers or something to that equivalent.
Yeah, it's revolutionary pioneers. Yeah.
Yeah, and I read a Vox interview or a Vox article about this 20 years later, and everything that's happened since then. I mean, they've lionized this guy. He is like their chief propagandist now. He goes around and all the virtues of Marxism, all the virtues of communism. He is the face of communism in Cuba right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we have the videos of the kid saying on TV, "Look, I don't want to go back to Cuba.
Right.
I'm very happy here with my family," and and to not honor his mother's death that died in vain now because she really tried to get her son here. Well, that goes deep into another issue that I talk about with a lot of our immigrants that come to this country. We fight so hard to get here, and then you see that many immigrant populations don't vote. Why? You know the effort that we took to get here? We have to continue to be leaders, because that is how we're going to have a better life for our children. So we all have to get out there and participate. These leaders first, all the obstacles that you did to come here, right? So thank you for your service. I think that if there's anyone in this country that we have to live grateful of every day is our veterans and the people that stepped forward and said, you know what, I'm going to defend this freedom.
Yeah, and if you ask a veteran, we'll say the opposite. We'll say it's the carpenters, it's the stonemasons, it's the farmers. We're just there, as the guard, right, to preserve freedom. And and I think my point is that's what it is to be an American. Right, we have this deference about us in most cases, like I'm just one guy, right? But I'm here for the team, and I still believe that's the American dream you talked about. I still believe it's alive and well, and that's why a lot of us are involved in politics here. When we could be doing other things,
right?
But and that's why we're here talking with you, and it's truly an honor. So let's kind of take this like one step farther, because. As an immigrant, and I've had this conversation with peoples that have immigrated here. So Thanksgiving is a uniquely American holiday, or in the United States, right? And I know they don't have it in Cuba. I know they don't have it in Ukraine. What is it at a family event, like, as you have Christmas, and I know you would celebrate, everybody celebrates it a different way. That's another, huge holiday. But to come to America and to be as part of a first generation, second generation American, to have that holiday and observe it, what goes on in the Garcia house on a holiday like that?
It's an opportunity to be grateful, right? What a gift to get a holiday where all you have to do is be grateful for all you have. And so it's a pretty easy sell, right? So we make sure that we're all together at Thanksgiving. Our family is not the biggest fan of turkey, but my wife probably prepares the best ham I've ever tasted in my life, hands down. And everybody loves it. Everybody looks forward to that ham. But it's about spending time together and being grateful together. I think it's a gift. I think no matter where you come from, to be able to sit there one day a year and say, wow, we made it here. we're part of the American dream. Look at my family. You know, someone said to me the other day, they read through my ridiculous CV and, you know, all the things I've done in my life, and they said, oh, what's your biggest accomplishment? And I said, hands down, my family. You know, the love that we have for each other, my children loving each other, the unity that we have in our home, that means more to me than anything else.
Yeah.
That's where it all starts and ends.
That's right.
Right? So I think, going back to Thanksgiving, I think we love it. We love to spend time together at home. We love that ham. My daughter is over there.
Yeah, they all have their one favorite, and everybody gets it, right? So.
Where do we go for Thanksgiving?
We usually take a vacation together. Yes. Yeah.
Right on. Great. Okay. So the next topic, I know you do extensive work. You're actually probably a pioneer based on the conversations we have. That's my characterization of it. But human trafficking it's even bigger than a catastrophe or a tragedy in this country. And I don't think people know how big, the scale and scope of that problem. And I know you've done some great work as an ER doctor. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that?
Yeah. Something that we all have to think about very deeply is the fact that we are living in a very embarrassing time for our government. Every sovereign nation should be able to vet who comes in and out of their country. And when you lose that, you're no longer a sovereign nation.
That's right.
And not only are we not vetting who comes in and out of our country, but we're letting crime and drugs flow through. The embarrassing part is that the cartels know exactly who comes in and out of our country, right? And it so happens that if one of those individuals wants to come over to our country, has to pay an amount of money.
Well, let me ask you this. It's because they're inventory.
Right.
Right? That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as someone that works in a Fortune 100 business, we know every piece of inventory that we have.
Right.
That's what they consider these people to be.
Oh, absolutely.
They're a product.
And so these people now have a tab to fulfill with their lender.
Yeah.
And that tab is fulfilled, unfortunately, largely in prostitution and other forms of human trafficking. And it's a really disgusting world. It really is. And it happens in our streets here. The deeper that we went into it, working with the task force in Tri-Cities, we learned that they change these groups of women from here to Vegas, to Portland, and they move them around, so there is no so it's a little harder, right? And the really conniving, heart-wrenching part of this is that when you sell a drug, you get your profit once. But when you sell a human being, you get a profit every time you're selling that human being, because that human being's still valid and can operate many times.
Yeah, and if you kidnap that person or something like you, there's no payback period. It's like your margin's 100% day one.
Day one. And so we train our emergency physicians to be vigilant for human trafficking and cases that we get in the emergency department that are questionable, and guide them into a series of questions that would lead us to understand that this person is being trafficked. And then the second part is, how can we take that person out of this environment, make them trust us, because a lot of them are have families back wherever they came from, and they're threatened by it, and a lot of times the person says, no, I'm staying where I am. Right. So the second stage is trust us, and then how do we get them out of that environment. It's really complicated, and it's really shameful, as I was saying, that our government allows this to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, we have a very powerful government, and I think we have the power to go in there and change it. And why are we not doing it sooner than later is my problem.
Well, at the federal level, what would be the first step?
Well, the first step is controlling our borders.
Okay.
Right, and vetting who comes in and out of our country.
Yeah.
And I am completely not against immigration. I'm a legal immigrant myself.
Yeah.
I think we all came from somewhere, unless we're descendants of our natives here who also came from somewhere.
Some land bridge somewhere, right?
Yeah. So I mean, yes, right.
Exactly.
And what the beautiful thing about the United States is that we got here in this melting pot, and we made it succeed.
Right.
We made it the greatest country in the world, with a bunch of immigrants from other places.
Yeah, and now we're trying to destroy it.
And now we are putting that reverse on it, and we can't.
Yeah.
We have to move forward. And we have to understand that all this ideology that is absurd, that they are selling us through educating our children and through the media, is not really what the American dream is about. We need to come out and be even more boisterous and defend our communities and say, not here, not here. We're going to move forward as America.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, you just recently made a long walk for fentanyl awareness.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I believe that you put your money where your mouth is. You walk the walk. I have learned now, being involved for a few years, that the political world is full of talkers,
Mm-hmm.
and many of those do not walk the walk. So one of the things that I'm very visceral about is seeing 2 to 5 overdoses a day in my ER from fentanyl. We have a human being dying every 4 minutes and 45 seconds in this country.
Unbelievable.
And we are allowing it to happen without a very good solution. I hear people saying, well, at least we're doing something. No, I believe in doing something right. That's where the scientific mind comes to politics and said, this is not working. According to results, we have spent $430 million over the last few years on programs that are inefficient, have not been effective. As a matter of fact, have enabled the problem to get bigger. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go from my couch and walk from my hospital in Toppenish to Seattle and unite East and West, Western Washington, in a subject that I think that does not discriminate. Whether you're from Eastern Washington or from Western Washington, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or a libertarian, whether you have a lot of money or no money at all. The fentanyl crisis in our country is killing people of all races, of all economic backgrounds, Democrats and Republicans, and is killing them at a very rapid rate. So we need to elevate this crisis. And what I've said is that, according to results, bringing again my scientific mind to politics, let's do something that has been tried and been successful. So in 2001 in Portugal, they had a big heroin epidemic, also an opioid.
Mm-hmm.
And the government stepped in and said, we're going to lose our country. So we have to do something about it. And they came in and they said, any dealer, prison, any addict, mandatory rehab. And this mandatory rehab cannot just be a month, because I could tell you as a doctor, your brain's still controlling you for 28 days on that addiction, telling you to lie, cheat, and steal. And this is why the programs now in King County don't work, because you will lie to the judge, you will lie to the police officer, you lie to your parents. I mean, we almost lost a son to fentanyl, and we went through that lying, cheating, stealing. So we need to take drastic measures, put dealers in jail, get mandatory rehab for addicts. And according to results, Portugal cleaned the streets. So why don't we try it? Because what we're doing now doesn't work.
Yeah.
Housing first doesn't work. Because when you are not treating the root of the problem, which is drug addiction and mental health, giving a mental health patient a free house that they don't know what to do with,
Yeah.
without treating the root of the problem, it's not going to result in good results. Giving a drug addict a free house, now you have infested the neighborhood with that drug house because they're not going to stop. So we have to go to the root of the problem against, scientifically, to be able to create good results. So, yeah, I walked to make that point 185 miles. A lot of people said it would be impossible to go from couch to 185 miles. A lot of people feel that we can't cure this fentanyl crisis. A lot of people feel that a 24-year career politician can't be beaten. Mm-hmm. And I walked to prove the point that all of us together, with grit and dedication, we could not only be an example of that American dream, but we could make it stronger. And it wasn't easy. I mean, the first day, 20 miles from Toppenish to Yakima in 109 degrees, plus the asphalt, so about 120 degrees.
It's like being on the flight deck in the Indian Ocean.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I've never been on the flight deck in the Indian Ocean, but
it's dark, black, and reflects heat as well. So,
well, it's what I said was it's like being in a campfire, mm-hmm. and now you're warm, but you can't leave.
Right.
You have to stay there.
Yeah. There's nowhere
and
else
that
to
heat
go.
is coming down with power.
Yeah, and bouncing back up.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like day 2, day 3, the adrenaline must have kicked in at that point, right?
Yeah. After that, and of course, the closer to Seattle that we got, the cooler it got.
Well, I thought you were saying the more I wanted to turn around and start over.
So the night, the day before the end, I did 34 miles in one day.
Wow. Walking.
Yes.
Okay.
34 miles, and I was going to be picked up in North Bend and be taken to Preston because we couldn't walk in I-90. It's illegal to obviously walk in the interstate, and they're like, well, there's no other way except this other 3.5-hour route through Snoqualmie, and I said, no, I didn't work that hard to cheat for 5 miles. I'll take the 3.5 hour. Mm-hmm. So we did walk the 34 miles from to Issaquah that day, and then the last day we walked Issaquah to Seattle. There were 120 people waiting in Mercer Island to walk that last I-90 bridge with us.
What was that moment like when you saw them?
It was pretty special. It was pretty empowering, especially the people that were there.
Did it exceed your expectations? I mean, did you expect that crowd and
Yeah, it exceeded my expectations, and like I said, the type of people that were there mm-hmm. were not your usual GOP.
Right. The rah-rah crowd
yeah.
with the pom-poms out. Yeah.
No. We had different cultures there. I could look at the video. We had a large amount of different cultures represented there that wanted to walk. I know that we had a Senate candidate for state Senate that was Democrat mm-hmm. that was there that wanted to walk. We had someone from the government in Seattle that wanted to walk. So I feel that it is an issue that we could unite the state with.
I couldn't agree more.
And that we could say, hey, enough, let's go. Let's go do something about it. And I'm pretty passionate about it. I hope that everybody joins that movement and sees that it's bigger than all of us. It's to save our community. So Yeah, fentanyl will always continue to be at the top of our list and to be eliminated from our streets.
Yeah, and my first memory of the fentanyl issue, and I didn't know a whole lot. And my brother, who died of a drug overdose two weeks ago, he got injured. He got on Oxy. When the prescription ran out, he had to have a different source. And like you said, that trigger's always in their brain. And they found him. He had passed, and there were like capsules that were empty. So they believe, we haven't got the autopsy yet, but they could have been laced with fentanyl otherwise, or he just did too much. But it's, I just remember when I can't remember if it was during the campaign in 2016 or shortly thereafter, when President Trump said, like New Hampshire, on a per capita basis, is the number one death rate in the country. And right then I was thinking, well, I don't know a lot about this, but I'm thinking big city, Chicago,
right.
New York. This is a hometown problem.
Right.
Right?
Right. Well, my condolences about your brother. I'm so sorry. The problem with fentanyl is that in these labs that they're making fentanyl, there is no, board certified pharmacist sitting there calibrating each pill, saying, hey guys, only 25 micrograms.
Well, a grain can kill you pretty much, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have 2 milligrams, which is nothing, it'll kill you. What fentanyl does is it stops your respiratory drive.
Right.
So you just stop breathing.
Yeah, you basically collapse.
And is now laced. I have seen it in the emergency department laced with everything, with everything from marijuana to cocaine to meth.
They put it in candy.
To Tylenol.
Right. Yeah.
So I've told my children nothing from your friends.
If you don't know where it came from, don't put it in your mouth.
Absolutely not.
That's right.
Cannot.
Or even inhale it. Anything, right? Get away from it.
Right.
So let me ask you this, for the novice like me, what's the difference between heroin proper and fentanyl?
So fentanyl, to tell you the truth, is a drug that is very well liked in the medical profession because it's a very quick acting drug. It's both are opioids, and both take your pain away. Through that mechanism. Fentanyl is very quick in and out. The problem has been that if you take too much, that quick is death immediately, right? Heroin is a little more controlled. People could know how much to take. It's pretty well regulated because the substance itself gives you the amount. These fentanyl tablets or powder, you don't know what the potency is. You don't know what you're dealing with. So they're both opioids. One is more reliable as far as you know how much to take. The other one, however, is 40 cents a tab in the street, and that's why it's been so rampant.
Yeah.
And it gets to that part of your brain where you get that elation, and people love it.
How quick do you get addicted to it?
Well, we have seen people get addicted trying it once.
Wow.
So yeah. I mean, I would say let's not go there.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me ask you a hypothetical about this. You're a senator and you're on the committee. I don't know, let's say it's the Commerce Committee in the Senate, right? And this question, you ask this question, and I'll have you answer it as the witness, right? But we know that let's say the drug culture benefits from the sale of this, but who's really benefiting from this, right? I mean, I know, like they say a lot of it comes in from China through Mexico and stuff, but who in our country is benefiting from the fentanyl trade other than the drug dealers?
Well, I was going to say that it's pretty hard to fight the theory that this is an attack on the United States.
Right.
Right, because I don't feel that anyone is winning from this in our side. We're losing.
Yeah.
We're losing big time. And if you had a plane that crashed with 300 people a day, the federal government would ground aviation in no time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And say, hey, we gotta find an answer to this.
Right.
So why are we not finding an answer to this. This is, I mean, I can't scientifically create an answer for that will agree with my integrity.
Yeah.
There's no win here. We have to cancel this drug out of our streets. There is no other way.
So the
Whatever
open
we
border
have
is
to
the
do.
conduit for all this. It has to be, right?
Well, we have to control our border.
Yeah.
Right? We have to be harsh in the supply from the moment they start making precursors to the dealer in the street.
Yeah.
We have to be completely harsh and eliminate that supply. You know, we failed in the 1980s in the drug on war, the war on drugs. It's my Cuba English comes out at times, yeah. The war on drugs, because we concentrated a lot on the demand. We concentrated on the addict. And, you know, we started putting a lot of addicts in jail, and, you know, it helped, but not the answer. Because you have to eliminate the supply.
Yeah, they just find new customers.
Yeah. You have to eliminate the supply.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, horrible. Okay, so kind of get to some good news now, right? So Senator Garcia is sworn in, I think, maybe the 3rd of January, 2025. What is December 31st? What does New Year's Eve of 25 look like as far as success in your role as a senator in your first year? What do you see yourself like, you know?
I think we could get the majority of the Senate. That will make it a lot easier to get some things through. I'd like to get on the ground running. I'd like to get a record for the most bills ever put forward by a junior senator in his first year.
And you're already working on some of those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk a little bit about that?
So obviously the Americans Against Fentanyl Act, which may prove to be very gigantic, because it may include the border, it may include how we deal with rehab in carceral facilities, and have a better solution to that. I'd like to audit the federal government. I'd like to
Watch out, these guys might be coming.
well, I'd like to audit our spending.
Absolutely. Shouldn't it be done anyway?
It's common sense to
Every
me.
publicly traded
I mean-
corporation gets audited quarterly and annually.
So,
Right?
I mean, I would like to audit against bringing my scientific mind to it and saying, guys, these $100 million we're spending on this is not working.
Right.
Let's give it back to the people.
Yeah.
Because Economics 101 tells you that if people have more money in their pockets in the community and they start sharing it, growth happens.
Yes. And
And that is where I want to be in a year. I want to be able to feel that we're paying less taxes. I like to be able to feel that we can afford our life now because we have cut government spending to a level that is reasonable for a great country like ours. I like to feel on December 31st that we passed a national holiday where everybody votes.
Yeah.
That you don't have to go to work. You just
Vote.
go vote.
Yeah.
And be a part of the government.
Take a
bring more
friend.
people. Bring
Yeah.
more people into this. I like to see the smiles on the families here in Washington, feeling that they have the opportunity to grow as a business, just on their own job. Right? I'm a big believer that mom and pop stores that pop up or businesses that want to succeed should not pay taxes until a certain amount of income. Right? I'm a big believer in representing always the individual and respecting those rights. So we as a government need to provide education and resources.
Yeah.
And then you, an adult, can make your own decisions for yourself and your family.
Right.
So I like to feel in December 31st that the people of Washington say, you know what, I don't agree with Senator Garcia all the time, but he comes around, he listens, he represents us, and he explains all his actions. He's very transparent, and he has really pushed Congress to be accountable, just like any other business.
Yeah, I talk with people every day, and accountability is one of the first words out of their mouth. In fact, a conversation yesterday with some local school board members. It's like, it's all about accountability. That's why we elected you. Right? People want it.
Yeah, this is not a side job. This is not a job that, a title.
Yeah.
This is an employment for the people.
Right.
I mean, it's the biggest employment that
you're there to serve, not to be served.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So what's your message to the voters as we're, what are we, a few days away from the primary? Or we've been voting forever, it seems. But
my message is that we all need to get out and vote and get all our neighbors to do so. We really have a chance in 2024 to make a difference. We really do. I have spent a large amount of time in King County, which everybody sees as the beast in Washington, right? Well, I can tell you the citizens of King County are tired of looking out their door and seeing Seattle the way it is. I challenged the mayor and the executive of King County, saying, look, I'm here. You get me there and I will clean these streets before the World Cup gets here in 2026. There is no reason that Washington should not be the #1 tourist destination in America. We have, listen, the 185 miles that I walked were so beautiful. We have such a gorgeous state, and we have such great people.
Yeah.
It should be the #1 destination in the United States, but we're not a destination right now.
No.
We're a drug-infested state. We have no economic growth. We have one of the biggest crime states in the country. What I will tell you is that my word means a lot to me, and I'm going to go through that wall for you. I'm going to represent what you believe, because that's what I'm here to do. And I'm going to fight whoever I have to fight in Congress, and even our party sometimes, to represent the will of Washington. And I want Washington to succeed. That's why I'm there. That's my fundamental belief, that I'm the U.S. Senator for the state of Washington, and if Washington State succeeds, then I'm doing my job, right? Of course, I'm going to push for a better country, but I want to make sure that the people that elected me there, the people that I represent, could wake up every morning and say, there's a guy 3,000 miles away that really cares about my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final 2 questions. Is the American dream still alive? It sounds like it is.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And we need to fight to make it strong every day, to inspire people like I was inspired. And I want every little boy and every little girl out there to be inspired, because we can do this. We can make it that shiny city on the hill, like Reagan said, and it's flickering right now. That light is flickering.
Yeah.
We need to keep it steady, like a lighthouse for everybody.
Yeah. Hope springs eternal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Who's in control of your destiny?
Oh, well, I wish I could say that I am, but I'm a pretty faithful person, and I think I am here to perform a service, and I'm gonna see what the Almighty has in store for me, and I'm gonna do everything that I can at every step to make it happen.
I'm giving you 100% on all the hard answers. Congratulations. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
coming in.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Absolutely.